And we were going to take a look at the producer letter. So the 2025 producer letter, we're going to talk about some, like my feelings about some of it. I think overall, it's a good thing. No, we're not going to read it all, but so every year they do this producer letter. They're kind of talking about like what the upcoming year is going to look like, what they're going to do. They always do a look back, so it's sort of like just a recap of the Year of the Dragon, Wild Magic, 64-bit server for Core Maritas. Like they did a lot last year that was pretty good. Myth Draenor was a good expansion. They gave us Wild Magic. They gave us Eladrin. They gave us that zone that's huge, Lanterns in the Mist, which is part of like Ravenloft, and we're going to get a raid in April for that, and then that is going to be piggybacked into the upcoming expansion, which is Lamortia, which is Ravenloft. So I think that's going forward. They are going to theme whatever hardcore event that they do is going to be based on like what they're doing for the pack and then what the sort of like feel. So this particular one was Ravenloft, so we got a bunch of Mist stuff, which was pretty cool. I mean, the event wasn't perfect, but it is what it is, right? And so now the biggest news, I think, and this isn't really gameplay, but it's the transition to the 64-bit. We're not going to read it all because you guys can do that, but I think the 64-bit servers are a massive W for the game. I think it is future-proofing like the gameplay, because what it does is it allows the game to run with a lot more RAM, so they can load a lot more stuff in as the characters get bigger and bigger. One of the things that it's been said a few times is that whenever your character transitions between different places in game, the game has to bring with it everything that the character has on it. And so that can get quite large to write all that stuff. But a 64-bit environment just it takes the ceiling off that, makes it much better. And so the performance should be much smoother. And so we shouldn't have things like load screen freezes and stuff like that, things that we are very used to in DDO. So I think it's a massive W for the game. As a result of these new 64-bit servers, they're going to add one to Europe. That's good, or one or two to Europe, and there's one or two more coming to the US. I would like to see the 32-bit game worlds turned off completely so they can capitalize on the new tech and optimize the use of the money. Now, Standing Stone is part of a much larger corporate entity, so even if they weren't profitable, they probably wouldn't have to worry about it, right? So I'm not sure that they actually will turn off the 32-bit servers. I personally think they should. I think that they should force us all to migrate. But one of the things that I said initially was, why can't they just do this like any sort of software update? Like my phone is a great example. If I get a new phone, like let's say I buy one of the latest iPhone 16s, right? I just make a copy of my software, port it over to the new hardware, and now my software is running on this new hardware. The 16 would be way better than this phone that I have in my hand, but my software would stay the same. I don't understand why they can't make a copy of our game world exactly as it sits on Sarlona, as an example, and just port that entirely onto a new 64-bit server and just turn it on and just let us play on Sarlona 64. I don't understand enough about the game behind the scenes to know if this is a dumb comment or not, but what I don't understand is why force everyone to do an actual character migration. Like, I have to log in, I have to hit transfer. The only reason I can see that is if they want to monetize it, right? because it would seem like it would solve a lot of problems if they could just make a mirror copy and turn it on a 64-bit Sarlona. They wouldn't have to worry about moving guilds, names, Astro shards, anything, right? Like, those are the problems that, in order to do an actual migration, they need to solve. How are we going to move guilds? How are we going to move character names? How are we going to move stables? How are we going to move monster manuals? How are we going to move Astro shards, which right now are keyed to the individual server? And so that's a lot of work. It seems like it would be a lot less work to just basically do what I do for my phone and just upload a copy of the entire phone to the cloud and just port the copy onto the new tech, right? Like, I work in IT. I work in tech. So from my perspective as a tech guy, it makes sense. I don't understand enough about the system that Turbine built. Maybe there's some thing because it was designed in 2004 and 5 that it's so old that they can't make a mirror copy of it. It would break everything. I don't know. I don't know enough about the system. It seems like what they're doing for Lotro, because I have VIP founders account in Lotro as well, because I was a beta tester for Turbine. So I beta tested Lord of the Rings Online and Dungeons and Dragons Online, and my accounts go back to those beta tests, right? So I need to move my founders account from Brandywine in Lord of the Rings this March. I think it's like March 5th or whatever whenever the move starts. It doesn't really affect us here. It's sort of off topic for our producer letter, but it is regarding the 64-bit game servers, because Lotro is getting it first, and then DDO will get it this year. And based on how well it goes with Lotro, that we'll see like where the snags were. They'll probably sort it out, and then so when they do it in DDO, it'll be even smoother. But I can tell you honestly, like, I'm super stressed because, like, I have houses, I have guild houses, I have a founders guild. The guild was set up, made on the server the day the server opened, as was Mary, who back then, I played Mary Poppins. So Mary Poppins was made when this Brandywine was 1 second old. So now for me to move them all and have the potential of losing it, I sent them a letter. I have not heard back from Lotro's side at all about it. I did send them a letter asking them about the process, but they do have a lot on the website about the process. It's still super stressful and confusing. And so that's what I'm talking about with the mirror copy in the cloud. I just think it would be a lot easier if they could just make a copy of the entire server, port it to the 64-bit server, and then turn it on. So take Sarlona, throw it in a cloud, throw it on a 64-bit, and then call it Sarlona 64. And that way nobody has to migrate at all. But I don't know enough about the behind the scenes. So obviously that's what they're not doing anything like that for Lotro. So they probably won't do anything like that for DDO. It's unfortunate because, like I said, if I were involved in that in any way, that's the first thing I would have said in the meeting. Like, why can't we just make a copy and port it over to one of these newer systems? But that means that we're going to have to do a transfer process, and they will give us details. And it actually says that here. We're going to have free transfers to the 64-bit worlds from the 32-bit worlds, and we will have full details about the transfer process as we get closer. So the process details that they're going to need to have for us are how are they handling names, guild names, stables, monster manuals, astro shards, like, all the stuff, pets, all the things on your server right now that are unique to that server and cannot be, if you won a nightmare mount in a gold roll, that's only on the server that you used it on. How are you going to be able to move that? Because right now that mechanic doesn't exist. You cannot do that right now. So however maybe it's just going to be like when you move the character, your stable moves with it. That would be the best case scenario. Worst case scenario is that you have to like claim a token for every one of your uniques and then take that token with you to the new server and then claim the token. I mean, it's okay. That would work, but It just seems like a lot of work, right? The other thing with Astro Shards, like it would be really great if they made Astro Shards account wide. Otherwise, they're going to have to do like a token system where, like, if I have, let's take a look. Right now, let's say I wanted to move, I have 2,500 Astro Shards, right? Like, how am I going to move those? So if they made it to where you could double click this and then it just made like a token in your backpack that had the value of 2,500 Astro Shards that was bound to account. Although to be honest, I don't think it should be bound to account, but bound to account a token for 2,500 Astro Shards. Now it's in my backpack like this hair dye. And then if I were to port this character, I would then on the new server just double click it and then the shards would hopefully pop back on my shard thing. Now, I think while that would work, I think that they should make Astro Shards account-wide, like DDO points are account-wide. And I don't even think they should show here under money. Because to be honest with you, like as a content creator, we're constantly leaking information. Like what if I didn't want people to know that I had 2,500 Astro Shards, you know, as an example? I don't care, but I started with one, and using my finesse on the Astro Shard market, I made 2,500. So like I could probably do a video about that, but you guys probably already know how to do that, right? So, but the point is, I think that they should be moved into the store area and be usable via the account. So not sure why the browser news. Oh, there it is. Okay, so that's coming this year. Very exciting. Massive W for the game. Awesome. All along with the 64-bit server, they've done a lot of performance improvements. I think that's a massive W for the game too. I think there's two reasons why people don't stick around. One of them is performance. People don't want to play a game that's buggy or crashing out all the time, load screens. And then the other part of it was like the video series that I'm doing that I've done on YouTube, talking about like the free-to-play experience, things that could be changed, you know, things that could be made better. My best example for that, if I had to pick one, would just be like making respecking free, getting rid of lesser hearts of wood altogether and just letting people respec. I think that what they should do is make it like a button on your character. So I think like if we open our character panel, I think right here, if not right there, then on our thing, like right here where they have these other buttons, I think there should be a button, something like this here. Like I can press that and it says you want to repair. I think there should be another button here that you press and it basically gives you the ability to do a lesser reincarnation. And whether they charge you, I don't think it should charge you anything. I think you should just be able to respec whenever you want, for any reason, as many times as you want. But, you know, if they wanted to tie some sort of plat cost to it, the problem with the plat cost is, and I'll keep this brief, but you guys who know, like, it gets so inhibitively expensive to respec that it's like you only really do it once or twice a life and then you reincarnate, because if you keep doing it, like if I reset this tree right now, it's 1,600 plat, which I have 100,000 plat, so that's not that bad. But if I were to do this 10 times in a row, that would probably be 160,000 plat. And eventually it like caps out. Eventually it like soft caps at like 250,000 plat, which is super, super expensive if you're like doing what we're doing here. Like I'm just on Cormier doing the Lantern event. Well, that means that I cannot respec my character, because like even though I've been playing a lot on this, most of my plat has gone to the guild, so I only have 100,000 plat. Luckily, I have a build, I don't need to respec it, but if I did, bro, it's like, it's too expensive. It's way too expensive. So like what I'm saying is my idea for free lessers, it should be virtually free. All all of this stuff should be super cheap to do. I think that they need to knock the price down for all of these respects by like 90%, at least, something like that. Anyway, that's another sort of mini rant about that, but that's my point there. But I think it would make everything much better, and it would coincide with all of the performance enhancements that they've been doing for the game. And so now we have the roadmap. We won't spend a lot of time doing this, but I think it's exciting. So they're going to continue with the performance enhancements in order to make sure that when they decide to do the 64-bit worlds in the second quarter, that everything is working. We get a 19th anniversary celebration. That's great. We're getting the Year of the Dragon, the monk rework, and we're getting the raid that goes along with the Into the Mists. I think I'm super excited about the monk rework. And I'm super excited about the Dragon Disciple archetype. I think it's a great idea. Monks are super fun. Quarter 2 64-bit world move. That's going to be 3 months of agony, people moving and losing things, and they're going to have to hopefully get it all to where it's not super painful. I think based on whether or not that move is painful or not is going to set up the rest of the year for how people like interact with the systems. You know what I mean? I think if it's super easy and it's an enjoyable experience, I think that will elevate the level of goodwill and sort of like, how do you say it? Like rep build for SSG. There's a lot of people like clown on them and meme on them for doing a lot of shit that arguably is pretty dumb. Like a lot of the decisions that they make, while I don't think they're super bad, they don't make a lot of sense, right? Like, so a good example of what I'm talking about is that they gave us an increase XP for the lanterns to help people earn the rewards faster, because the lantern fill is super tack on like 80 more supers slow. It's just really slow, grindy, and boring, right? So like I think that it would be really cool if they sped it up. That was my first comment when I tested it on Lamagna. I said, this is too slow. It's just inhibitively too slow. It's just not fun. And so I think that they should have kept that bonus on, right? So the fact that they didn't, they turned it off like a couple days ago, just says to me it's a little out of touch with, you know, what players are saying and what players want. So that's what I mean when I talk about that. They're not always in line with the players, but I think if they have a W, like if this goes smooth, that would rep build for them and get them more in line with the players. I think it would be very good. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Another thing, what I'm talking about this whole rep building is that people clown on the VIP rewards, and you guys may have your own opinions. Please feel free to share your opinions with me, either on YouTube, here in the comments, in Discord, whatever. Do you think the VIP rewards are good? If I were to be honest about it, I do not think that they're good. I mean, I'll take free stuff. I'm not going to say no to free stuff, but like, let's look at some of the rewards for being a VIP. We get these buffs, right? So I get a VIP discovery boost, 1% chance to get named loot. That's insanely stupid. 1%? What? Like what? That's like saying to somebody, hey, you want to go see a movie? I'll buy your ticket. How much is the ticket? And you're like, the ticket for a movie is, I don't know what a movie costs nowadays. What is it, like $35? And they're like, oh yeah, all right, here, I'll give you $15 to go see a movie. And you're like, bro, you didn't help me see the movie. You just gave me like a teaser. Like, what is 1%? It's nothing. That should be 5%. Would 5% really matter that much? Not if we pull up Axel's video where he goes over those fractions of a percent of you pulling rare loot? No, it wouldn't even help if it were 5%, let alone 1%. This 10% Kenneth crafting XP, bro, 10% is not a lot. That should be 50%. Like, a VIP can do things 50% faster than a non-VIP, makes sense to me. A VIP can do things 10% faster than a non-VIP. 10% is not enough to pay for. 10% is like a weekends that they're giving you something for free. So these are my opinions, obviously, but like when I see these VIP rewards, I'm not 10% durability. Bro, 50% durability to avoid wear. 50%. I sub a VIP 50%, not 10%, 50%. 50% crafting, 50% durability, 5% named loot. Now you're starting to talk about if those are the numbers, VIP is like, yeah, that's actually worth it. Because if you play this game and you invest in this game, then having those things, and they wouldn't break, that would far from break the game. So I really think they should take a look at the rewards. My number one go-to VIP reward is unlimited storage, and the 64-bit servers with the unlimited memory that 64-bit servers have would and should allow them to, if it's not unlimited shared storage, to make the number like 5,000 or something, like a number that is enough that I can put all of the stuff I have across all of my bank tunes into my shared bank, delete all my bank tunes, delete all the redundant gear that I have, and actually finally for the first time in 20 years be able to manage my gear in this game. Because right now I have 20 years worth of stuff stretched out across 45 characters. You know what I mean? Like, it's not cool. I have no idea where anything is. I probably have 9 copies of the same thing. This leads into the main reason that I don't like to raid, because I hate bound to character stuff. When I reincarnate my main, I have 100 items that are bound to character because I've played for 20 years that I don't want to delete. Like, I'm not going to delete my green steel. But why is it bound to my main? My main is sitting at cap. Shouldn't I be able to take that green steel and use it on my account on somebody else? Like, why is it? I don't know. I don't think that we need to have the time sink built into the old bound to character for green steel that it was back when it was introduced in 2009 or whenever green steel was introduced. Like, you're talking about a much different game in the past. And so I don't think having green steel, heroic green steel bound to account is going to break the game. Like, my opinion. That's just my opinion. And then quarter 2, they're doing PAX East. Quarter 3, we're getting Lamortia, which is Ravenloft. So Return to Ravenloft. They're expanding on the environment. We're getting a new Ravenloft landscape. Ravenloft is one of the best landscapes in the game. We're getting a damper race. I don't know much about it, but I know that they're kind of like half dead, half alive. So let's see if I can find what they look like, because I'm not even actually sure. I personally would not have gone with this as a race for DDO, but you know, it's cool that they are giving us see if there's a picture here. No, they are in 5e though. They arise from vampires, basically. They're like vampire spawn, kind of, but for some reason they decided to make them into a unique race. Now, let's not forget that we still need Kalashtar, we still need changelings, we still need Durgar, we still need Underdark Drow. There's just a lot. Yeah, dampers are like wet vampires. Yeah, I mean, like, it's cool. I'll take a new race, but I'm quite surprised. I'm also really surprised that they did not capitalize on the Baldur's Gate 3, which is releasing a new update with subclasses, and give us Githyanki. Everybody who plays Baldur's Gate 3 got to know that race really well because of Laziel. She's very popular. We already have Tiefling, so like right now in DDO, you can make every character but Laziel. And it's unfortunate that Laziel is one of the iconic, like she was on the box. She was in the poster. Like, so I think my opinion, if I were given, I would have made, I personally would have done Githyanki. But Dampier is, that's what we're getting. I have a feeling the Lamortia expansion is going to be really cool because Ravenloft in DDO, it's one of their best expansions. They really popped off with Ravenloft. They did a fantastic job with that entire expansion. So like all that content is great. My hope is that they get some of the Baldur's Gate 3 actors to voice this new content. Amelia Tyler, I would love to see. I'd like to see a lot of them. I would like to see them get a bunch of those actors to come into this game. And I think that's what I would do if I were involved in this process. I would be regularly tapping all of the Baldur's Gate 3 actors to come over here and voice act for us, just because when somebody hears a name, it's just such a good feeling, like Amelia Tyler's a great example of, she did such a great job as GM for Baldur's Gate 3 that the minute I hear her voice, it's like I have like 1,500 hours in Baldur's Gate 3. So like it was a really good experience. So for me to have any bit more of that experience somewhere else, it's a really good thing. So I think it's another way that we can encourage people to stick around and play. Like we want to give people a chase. And if people know that there's an actor that they like who did a voice for something, they might stick around and chase to see where it is and what it is. And, the content is good and they're probably going to make the game better. Q4, we're getting a live event, which is the new hardcore event. It's an opt-in hardcore-like event, and that's great. It's an L that we're not getting an OG hardcore. That's sad, but we're getting it, and it's going to be Fae themed. So my hope is that, I'm going to tell you guys what I think that they're doing. They're going to basically do what they did for Lanterns of the Mist, where it was like a teaser of Ravenloft. They're going to do it for Feywild. This fourth quarter, we'll have an opt-in hardcore with a similar mechanic to the Lanterns, although they'll probably optimize it a little bit based on what they learned from this event that we're in now. And then we'll have to earn Fae-themed rewards. My hope is that I can finally earn Dragonfly Wings. My hope is that they give us like some more, like cool Feywild themed stuff, right? And then I hope that the opt-in is a little bit more exciting and not as like grindy and boring as the Lantern event. Like the Lanterns is fun, but it's much more fun on paper than it is in play. So like it's a good idea. It's creative, but to play it, to sit there in a quest for 40 minutes and have a Miststalker not spawn because you're in it alone, it's like, why? That's not fun. It's not fun to play. It sounds cool when you talk about it, but it's not actually. So they need to like accelerate it and make it a little bit more exciting. How they do that, I don't know, but whether it's just making the event overall just a little bit faster or whatever, who knows. And then they say and more for each of these, so like they're keeping their options open for like stuff they're going to add. They always add quest packs, they always add other stuff. We probably will get another archetype or two. They haven't really hinted about what those are. And then we're getting a raid. The raid is for Ravenloft. We have to go in and deal with like the Miststalker storyline, the Dark Lords, and then we're going to find out all about like they're telling us here the RP part of it, like what all the story has to do with. So that's going to lead to a raid. The raid, even though the event was only on Cormare, the raid's going to be on every server. And then going forward, it sounds like they're going to do the hardcore light on every server. So it's not going to just be the 64-bit servers as far as I can see. Yeah, FOMO, you're right, Trog. FOMO, right. FOMO is not something we have, and they basically killed FOMO with the introduction of the cosmetics. And so really that's sort of like the meta for FOMO these days is like a cosmetic store. You can do certain rare things like WoW does, like Invincible's Reigns, where you can only get one mount by doing one raid, you know, that kind of FOMO. But most of it, like a good example of like Marvel Rivals is introduced a bunch of like skins for, you know, if you want your Quill to look like he did in the movie, you can buy a skin, like a Guardians of the Galaxy skin for him. Like that sort of FOMO, but that's all like pay for FOMO kind of a thing. But it does make the FOMO, because when you see it in game, it's like, oh, hey, I want that too. And then a lot of the looks that they do, as the example, they're like only for a short time, and then they take them out of the store and you can't get them anymore. Kind of similar to what they do with our patron coffers, although we've already seen that the patron coffers are not something that doesn't come, like they actually are in like a very tight orbit. Like they're here for a week or two, and then they disappear, and then they orbit back like 2 months later, and then we get to buy them again. So when they say with the patron pack, it's here for a limit, because that was a confusion. A lot of people memed about this when the first patron pack dropped in DDO, because the gist of when they released it was like they did with the season pass. You have to buy it now because it's going away. It's not coming back. Well, with the season pass, that was true, right? So, I mean, I bought the season pass. I was happy with it. I got two years of a sub, and I got gold rolls every single day. It was super worth it. I also got a really good cosmetic. I got a bunch of other stuff. So the season pass was great, but it never came back. And that they stuck to the ad. Like they said, this is a brief one-time offer. That was sort of how the first patron coffer was worded. But that wasn't the case, because it came back really soon after they took it off the store. And a lot of people, if you go to the forum, commented and said, I thought this was a one-time thing. Like I rushed to buy it because I thought it was going to be gone forever. And so then they changed the wording on it now. So now, obviously, we've already seen they keep it. Now it's just cycled in with like plus 20 hearts of wood and other stuff that they have in like a tight orbit around our store. That, you know, it's visible in the sky for a week, and then it disappears for a while, and then it comes back in. You know, I mean, I personally would do it a little bit different, but that's what they're doing. So, So the Feywild is the next, and that's pretty much it for the roadmap. Now, I've said most of the stuff already that I feel. The things that I was sort of very surprised is that there's definitely no hardcore here, right? So OG hardcore is probably gone. Unfortunate. It's unfortunate, because a lot of the community that I'm tight with, we like the old style hardcore. Now, that's not to say once they get all the 64-bit servers up and running, next year they might do a temporary 64-bit server hardcore. You never know. Like it certainly could be something that they do. I definitely think there would be a lot of interest in it because people like that. There is a FOMO for the leaderboard, and there is FOMO for the harder to get rewards, like the bloody footprints from hardcore. Even though now, the Year of the Dragon, fiery bloody footprints are the coolest footprint in the game right now. I think going forward, I would like to see the rewards for the hardcore be better, because my biggest complaint about the hardcore light event that they did for the lanterns is that the rewards are too similar. They are 99% identical. Like, they need to be the I've said this before, so I won't say it a lot, but if it's a hardcore reward, it should demonstrate that somebody walking by you should know right away whether it's on fire, whether it's dripping acid, whether it's got a frost aura. Somebody should look at you and go, oh, that person did hardcore, because that's the only way to get that. There should be no question. There shouldn't be like, I have to zoom in and look at the sprites to see whether or not this person did hardcore or not. It's because it's not worth the time. That's what I've told everybody. Like, yeah, I think pick up the lanterns, get whatever rewards you want. I wouldn't even focus on the hardcore unless you're the type of player who likes to chase items just for the sake of chasing them. Like, I got the hardcore. You can see I got the hardcore lantern just because, like, I'm a hardcore enjoyer. So I just did it just because I wanted it. But like, the actual pet itself looks virtually identical. I've showed this before. It's just the only difference is a tiny little sprite that I can't even see here because I'm not facing the right way. Yeah, it's right there. That little skull right there. On the story mode version, that's not there. So, if you zoom out, like, you're talking about a tiny little dot that that's impossible to see. If I were to change the name of this pet and get rid of that season 1 nobody would know that this is a hardcore pet. Like, it would be impossible to tell. So what I'm saying is, I think it should be like, have an aura. I know Into the Mist had like that sort of mist aura. Any of us who purchased like the collector edition knows what I'm talking about. You can glamour a weapon to look like the mist had a pretty specific aura. Well, they should put that aura on the hardcore items for the theme, right? For the theme of the thing. Like, my mount, this is the hardcore mount. Well, what if my mount had that like Ravenloft misty aura on it? Then people would know, like, that's hardcore, because right now this is impossible to tell. Like, yeah, I can zoom in and look. There's the hardcore skull right there. But again, from far away, that's like a tiny little dot. And, if imagine you're this guy, right? You're Arcalite. Like, can you tell me riding by you like that fast? Can you tell that like the skull is even there? You probably wouldn't be able to see it. Like, so that was my biggest complaint about the hardcore aspect of this event, aside from the it being too slow and boring. They needed to speed it up. They also need to make the rewards compelling enough to chase for hardcore. My opinion. Yeah, the glowy, see-through, transparent, ghost type stuff. So let's go back here. The PAX East is always cool. That's great. Yeah, so let me talk a little bit more about this, because I'm going to reach out to some content creators. Like I said, they're going to be anonymous, although you guys will know that I'm involved with the Marauders map because it was my idea. But it's going to be basically like a wish roadmap. So, and I'll try to have it done by next month, although I might coincide it with the anniversary. But it will be basically set up in this format, like although I don't know if I'll break it into quarters, but it'll be based on like things that we would like to see fixed. So I think like a good example of what I'm saying is, I don't think anybody would disagree that continued performance improvements are great. Like, that's great. Keep it up. We all love it. That's great. Were there any archetypes or changes that we wanted to see? Anything we want to see for the 19th anniversary? Yeah. On the Marauders map, yeah, you know what I want to see for the 19th anniversary? A unique 19th anniversary gift, because for the 18th anniversary, we didn't get one. We got the event where you could claim like 16th anniversary and 15th anniversary and 17th, but there was no unique 18th anniversary gift. Why not? I wasn't the only person who noticed that either. Like, so if it's an anniversary, it's an anniversary. And here's the thing, keep in mind, I play Lotro too. Lotro has the best anniversary celebrations in just about any game that I've played. They knock it out of the park every year for the anniversary. So why is it that they get so much love in Lotro and we get nothing over here in DDO? We need a good anniversary reward. We need a good anniversary celebration event, just like they do in Lotro, where they have special, like they have an entire town set up for, so, and every area that you go to has weird things going on. Like Lotro is just insanely good for any sort of a party. I would love to see that over here. I'd love to see it. So like, I do like the quest that they have for the anniversary, but it's kind of played out. Like I would like to see more. I would like to see things that are sort of in line with the simple, cool stuff that they do in Lotro. My opinion. Now, for the Marauders map, that's just like what I would want. I don't expect them to listen to it, but that's what I would put on the Marauders map for the 19th anniversary. Like I would like to see at least a new quest, and then I would like to see unique rewards. And I would also like to see a little bit more celebration around the world itself, like we see in Lotro. Lotro, it's very easy to see that it is the anniversary because everywhere you go, if you go to Bree, if you go to Hoppen, if you go to the new, wherever, the Bay of Baphalos, like there's a lot of areas that look like they're celebrating. You can go to the party tree, like there's just a lot of stuff. Thorin's Hall, all of it. 64-bit worlds, massive W. What I would like to see is what I already talked about, how like I would like to see like cloud transfers to make it easier so we don't have to lose anything. I obviously don't want to lose anything. I would like to see better VIP rewards, a system that gives us more storage. Like I think the number one VIP reward would be giving us unlimited shared storage. And I know I keep saying that word unlimited because I don't think it should limit the amount of objects that you put into your shared storage unless you unsub, and then it would lock it to whatever you purchase. So if you purchase 100 slots for your shared storage, if you unsub, that's all you have. And if you had dragged 1,000 things into it, you wouldn't be able to put anything into it, but it would function then as like a pull out only. So you could pull objects out, or you could just leave it there, kind of like a reincarnation cache. And the game certainly could handle that because people do that right now with reincarnation caches. There are characters running around that have like 500 things in a reincarnation cache, and they never interact with it at all. They just open their bank, they do their regular banking stuff, and then they leave their reincarnation cache there for like 10 years. So, I mean, like, if the game can handle doing that, it can certainly handle, and I don't think a lot of people would even keep 1,000 things. I think what would happen is you'd see initially, like what I would do, I would get all 45 of my characters junk into the shared bank and then delete a bunch of characters and then start deleting a bunch of redundant gear that I don't need. And so the number overall, I think, would go down, and then that would sort of sort it back to where it would be reasonable. And I think the 64-bit worlds would make that better. If unlimited is unreasonable, I think like 1,000 or 5,000 or 10,000, like if they want to cap it. But I definitely think storage should be here. Not just giving storage, like, oh, well, if you're a VIP, you get 10 free storage, 10 free shared storage, 20 free. That's not enough. That's not enough. It's not enough. We need thousands of spots, not 10. So that would go on the Marauders map. Expansion, I kind of talked about it, and again, I'm not going to go over like everything I would put on my Marauders map, but like, while I love the Return to Ravenloft, I personally would have picked a different race for the iconic, you know, like they didn't mention what the iconic's going to be. What I think that they need to add is like an Underdark Drow Warlock. I think that they need to give us a Durgar. I would have to think about the class or the archetype, but a Durgar would be definitely an Underdark Durgar. I think they need a bunch of Underdark iconics, basically, because, I mean, everyone loves the Forgotten Realms, right? And then I do think the Eberron, even if they can't do changeling because changing would be a little bit difficult to implement in a way that would be fun. I definitely Kalashtar. And I've said this before, like, yes, they are psionic users, but they don't need to invent new spells like they did with the alchemists. All they need to do is give us the ability to cast arcane or divine spells. Just give them new names, so they could reuse like Flame Strike, but they could give it like Mind Fire, like a new name. So it would look and behave exactly like Flame Strike, but it would be a psionic version called Mind Fire or Mind Blast or whatever they want to call it, right? So that's how I would, and they could pick from all the different spells that they have across the game, like Alchemist, Artificer, Bard, Divine, and then the Wizard Sorcerer spells, right? And now we also have the Wild Magic system that they could utilize, rename it, and like if there were any psionic negative effects, they could tap into that wild magic system that they gave us. And then I've talked a little bit about like my feeling on hardcore, what I would do for the live event, so I won't bore you guys by going over that again, but so keep your eyes out for that. I am going to talk to other content creators. If you're a content creator and you see this video and you want to be involved with the Marauders map, again, it's going to be very light, low key, nothing super crazy. It's just basically going to be a layout of things that we would want to see. And it's going to be anonymous, basically, like just as sort of like a because the content creators in the community, we hear a lot of people talking about stuff. Like I see you guys talking in my chat about things you like and don't like. I'm sure that they do too. And so we could just distill it all and get it out. Like I know by talking to this is what I mean. I know by talking to a bunch of people in my guild. So there's 1,000 people almost on my YouTube, in my guild, and in Discord. Between talking to everybody spread out across those, I know for a fact that people like the old school hardcore. So like I would like to see an old school hardcore. I think a lot of people would. So like that would be what I would put here for Q4. Like while I do like the new event with the opt-in on all the servers, I do think having at some point, like even if it's just once every 3 years in OG hardcore, just to let the people who really like it know. And this is back to what I was talking about with Path of Exile too, where they do the seasons, and like when they do the season, the player base goes up to like 500,000 people. Everyone plays the season, and then the population of the game falls off, and then the next season comes up and it blasts back up to 500,000 players. So I think if we could make like a wide orbit for hardcore, where the hardcore players know that every 2 years there's going to be a hardcore season, right? Or every 3 years, whatever it is. When that comes around, we'll probably see a spike in all the people who love the traditional hardcore, right? So I think that would be cool. That's the idea anyway. So that sort of wraps up the producer letter. Hopefully, if there's anything you guys wanted to talk about, does anybody in chat? Let me read through and see if I missed anything. Yeah, Greyhawk is cool stuff. You want Greyhawk, Salt Marsh Slavers, Temple of Elemental Evil. It's all good stuff, yeah. I really want them to make I would be on cloud 9 if they said, look, we're giving you an Underdark Drow iconic warlock, and it's going to be tied with an expansion that is the classic module Expedition to the Barrier Peaks. I think I would be in peak existence at that point. I would be so happy. I like that. To me would be exactly everything that I want for that. Yeah, because I think that that's a super fun module. We have everything in, like the power armor and the lasers and the robots and all that stuff. Are a little bit weird, but like Eberron is weird. We're already weird. We're in like the steampunk anyway. So like adding Gamma World to that, like how cool would that be? Like that's super, super cool. And there's a lot of old classic modules that are really good that I would like to see. But that would be like the one that I would pick. Blackmore would be cool. Mystara, yep. I agree. Okay, there's a hint about this anniversary. Cordova mentioned something, but he isn't going to let it slip. So I really hope that they, they needed to do something. We didn't get anything last year except for we got the anniversary, but we didn't get any gear. Like there's no unique 18th reward. If you look at like during the pandemic, they gave us those team outfits. Those are really cool. I have officially submitted that as an idea for them to do like a Twitch drop of a cosmetic to give like team Twitch the outfit and just theme it whatever color they want to make it. I mean, I don't care what color they make it. But so for like during the pandemic, we got like silver team, blue team. If you guys remember, they had like the face mask. They had like it was like a jacket with pants. They were actually pretty cool looking outfits. So I think reusing that asset and making something for Twitch would be really cool because like I joke about it. If you guys look at my stream, I think I have drops on in the title of my stream, which is me memeing on the fact that this game doesn't have drops. And I really think that they need them. So I've talked to them a little bit about it. And they said, yeah, doing a Twitch drop would require us to make an integration thing, like a plugin thing for Twitch, and they would have to spend resources and money on doing that, and it's probably not worth them spending the time. But that's what I came up with the idea for the cosmetic, where it would be a code for a cosmetic. You punch it in, and then it gives you the cosmetics, and creators would hand the code out. Once the code is out, it's out, right? Obviously, you don't have to go to Twitch and watch to get the code like normal drops, but the fact that it says Team Twitch DDO like is good for the game because there are people who don't know that there's content for DDO on Twitch. A lot of people don't watch Twitch. Like if 5% of the player base uses the forum, like 2% of the player base watches and goes to Twitch for content. Like it's hardly anybody. I don't even think I think YouTube, like if I were to look at my numbers, I think compared to the actual people in the game, it's probably like I'd say 1 out of 5 players, so even a lot of people don't use YouTube. There are people more likely to go to YouTube though, because they might be looking for like a build guide or how to do a quest video. But Twitch is very different. Twitch is to go engage with somebody in the community, right? Like to hang out with somebody who's playing the game that you like. So I think it would be good for the game to encourage more people to come to Twitch is my point for saying that.
Where are you going? Hunting for gold that is flowing somewhere in the cold world. Hid there is no knowing. Hey la, oh la la la. We love games. There's a standing stone. Let's make camp. We love games. Let's make camp and play more games. Hey la, oh la la la. We love games. Where are you going? There's no knowing what magic awaits, what evil is growing. Hey la, oh la la la. We love games. There's a standing stone. Let's make camp. We love games. much evil is growing.